Good afternoon, everybody. We'll just let everybody stream in for a minute or two. Just welcome to the QuickBooks webinar and get a good coffee, something to eat, and you have a really great presenter. And then while we're waiting, you're going to see a couple of polls pop up. Don't let that throw you off, but please take a minute to fill out the poll because the poll is going to help us to provide really good content for you and your business and also get feedback on our presenters, what you like, what you don't like. You can get feedback like I like Yasne talking, I like less Brian talking. So then that can kind of give us better feedback for future webinars. And I see that we've got to about 50 people so far. So we'll go ahead and get started because we want to get right into the content. As some of you guys know, my name is Brian Van Hook. I'm Regional Director of the Florida Small Business Development Center. We're under FIU's College of Business. And we are here today for this really great webinar that's an introduction to QuickBooks. We have a really great presenter, Yasne, and she's going to kind of really walk you through it. She doesn't have a lot of slides. It's more like hands-on in terms of step-by-step. I was going to tell you a little bit about our center and the rest of the team. So just bear with me 1 second. Let me pull it up. Okay, so as I mentioned, basically we are part of the National Small Business Development Center network. The SBDC network is funded in part through a cooperative agreement with the U.S. Small Business Administration, the SBA. So we are SBA resource partners. Our center is part of the Florida SBDC network. We are 45 years young this year. The SBDC, Florida SBDC network started in 1976. As you can see, there's 9 centers around the state. So if you're not lucky enough to be in Miami-Dade County or the Florida Keys, don't worry because we do have other SBDCs that are near you, and they have a really great team of business consultants that can help you. And then our particular center, we focus on one-on-one business consulting. So you can meet with really great specialists such as Yasne. We focus on everything from start to finish. We can basically help you to start your business. We can help you. We're really heavily focused on access to capital and financial management, hence the webinar that we're doing today. We also do international trade, marketing and growth strategies, government contracting, business operations, HR. Another thing for your business is you need access to really good market research, data, information. We can give you access to a lot of that information through FIU and through the Florida SBDC network. And then we also have really high quality trainings and workshops. We can't wait till we can get back in person with you guys safely and do these in person because we do, like you guys miss seeing everybody in person and interacting with everybody. And then I was just going to give a shout out to the team. You'll see Yasne's photo on there. In Miami, we have additional consultants that can help you in all those different areas. We've actually added additional consultants to keep up with a lot of the demand for services. Like in a normal year, we work with about 1,000 clients. And last year, we're really proud with the help of Yasne and some of her other colleagues, we were able to help 2,200 businesses. And last year, we helped businesses to get $95 million in capital, $78 million in contracts. We also launched 60 businesses in addition to other services. So we're really here to help you grow your business. And then also, if you're in the Florida Keys, we also do have 4 consultants in the Florida Keys that are local that can help you out. So with that, without further ado, I'm going to turn it back over to Yasne so she can get into the content. And just please take a minute to fill out the polls. Don't be shy with Yasne if you have any questions. She's a really experienced consultant. She can answer your questions, so please put them in the Q&A, and then we'll be around to answer any additional questions. So just thanks again for participating.
Thank you, Brian, and thank you all for joining today. As Brian mentioned, my intention today is to have a very hands-on presentation to walk you through the QuickBooks platform and to show you the tools that you can use. It's an introduction. If you have more specific intermediate or advanced questions, I will try to get to those at the end. And we're planning to do more trainings in this topic. So please share if you're interested in getting more advanced trainings. So here, a little bit about myself. Oh, that's how I make it short because I'm originally Cuban, so I can talk a little longer. But pretty much, I am a QuickBooks Online Pro Advisor, and not only a business consultant through FIU focusing on the financial management, but I am an entrepreneur myself, being involved with my family businesses for years, serving hundreds of entrepreneurs over the years. I can see QuickBooks not only from the accounting perspective, with the accounting background, but also as an entrepreneur. So I understand your pain and I try to make it as easy as possible as I coach you in this process. Today, we're going to, let me see this slide. Okay. Today, we're going to compare the different versions of QuickBooks so you have an idea of what's the difference between QuickBooks Desktop and QuickBooks Online. As I mentioned, dig deeper into the tools and the features of QuickBooks Online using a sample company. I will share also some very good recommendations of courses and tutorials that you can have access to, totally free and very complete resources. And at the end, we'll be taking your questions. So first of all, the main difference between QuickBooks Online, which is abbreviated as QBO, and Desktop. When you think of QBO, you're renting, right? You're paying a monthly subscription, and depending on the features that you're getting, the subscription will have a specific price, and I will show you the details now. In the Desktop, we used to purchase this very old school CD, and that seems old school. It was not long ago, but now we have computers that don't even take the CD anymore. Now, instead of installing the CD, you download the desktop version, but you're actually purchasing that license. The QuickBooks Online has remote access automatically. Everything is on the cloud. You don't have to worry about updating and doing any type of backup. And Desktop has that feature, but at an additional cost. Something very unique about QuickBooks Online is the opportunity to use an application on your phone and do things on the go, and connecting to your bank account and automating a lot of those recurring transactions. So it has tools where it avoids the data entry, everything is connected, you have rules, and make it very automatic. And this is lacking in the desktop version. Something that is a positive feature about Desktop, though, is that it gives you the opportunity to have multiple licenses for multiple companies, depending on the subscription. And with the Online, it's just one subscription per company. So if you have multiple business that you need to have in QuickBooks, that's something to consider. And Desktop also is very robust with the tools that they use for inventory and manufacturing. With QuickBooks Online, if you manage inventory, they have additional applications that you can sync, but the original inventory feature within QuickBooks Online is very basic in comparison with the desktop. So here you have an idea on the pricing. Let's move this out of the way. This is the pricing for desktop, for QuickBooks Online. Depending on the features you need, they all give you the opportunity to track income and expenses, do the estimates, manage the cash flow. But as you increase, you see going from Simple Start to Essentials, you can have more users, you can manage and pay your bills and track time. And the big difference between Essential and Plus is the ability to manage inventory and to track project profitability, which I'm going to dig deeper on how we can use the project feature within QuickBooks. And then the Advanced, as you see, is a whole longer list. This is the highest feature that QuickBooks Online has so far. And I would encourage you to, if you don't have QuickBooks yet and you're considering QuickBooks Online, go to the website and get related with the features that you get out of it. That desktop is a little different. With the QuickBooks Desktop, and I had it here, and it went So let me try to find it. Okay, QuickBooks Desktop. Here we go. Just to show you really quickly what are the different prices so you can compare. You see, so they have the Pro Plus, Enterprise, and as you see, it's a one-time price per year. It's kind of a subscription model at the end of the day. It's just instead of monthly, you have the yearly cost. So these are the main differences. And again, the opportunity to explore and will give you an idea of which one works best for you and your business. What we're gonna cover today, within the QuickBooks Sample Company, I'm gonna cover all these features, just tell you the basics out of this, and then dig deeper at the end with your questions. Most importantly, the chart of accounts, how you use your products, the services, the customers, how you do an estimate, how you transform that into an invoice, and then most importantly, the financial and the managerial reports. At the end of the day, the reason why we do this day-to-day bookkeeping is to get the reports that are going to give us the opportunity to make strategic decisions based on numbers that will give us the opportunity to grow our business. So the sample company, when you, and this link, I know one of our team members is going to be sharing in the chat because you all have access to the sample company. Even if you have QuickBooks Online and you want to play with this, you have the opportunity. So all you have to do is click on the link that we'll be sharing in the presentation as well. Tell them that you're not a robot, and then it's going to take you straight to the QuickBooks Online sample company. In this case, it is a business on the landscaping industry. And he's showing create design and landscape, right? So I'm gonna start by showing you here in the gear icon, at the beginning when you start your QuickBooks Online company, first thing you wanna do is set up your account and settings, right? So in the gear icon, here you can find information and finish to include your company name. You can add a logo, and this is gonna be reflected on your invoices and your estimates. It looks very professional. You include all this information, the industry, the address, and you will see that you have options of whether you include this information or not in the logo, but it's good to have it as complete as possible here. In the usage, it tells you how many billable users you have. As you saw, depending on the level of the subscription, you have additional users. And that means if you have multiple people in your team that are going to have access to your books, you can customize their access and see exactly what everybody's doing within the QuickBooks account. It also, depending on the subscription, you have limitation of how many accounts you can have in your chart of accounts. This is the plus plan that we're using for this sample company, and it has up to 250. So it's actually a lot of that you can use, and the tax as well. So the rest of the features here in account and settings is to activate and deactivate features related to your sales. What do you want it to show in your sales forms, including estimates, invoices, sales receipts, and credit memos? Do you want it to show a deposit line? Do you want it to show a discount? Do you want to collect tips? So this is features that you turn on and off, and you can review this in more detail so you can get related of what are those. The same with the expenses. When it comes to your purchase orders and the bills that you send, what is it that you want to activate in those forms? And then the advanced features has to do what type of accounting you use. Is it cash or accrual? Then the reports are gonna automatically run under that accounting type. Some features related to your chart of accounts, the categories, tracking class, and location, which is a very cool feature, more for an intermediate class, but this is where you activate it and the projects. time tracking, you can manage multiple currencies. So very, very robust opportunities to modify how you want to activate this. This is account and settings. Other features in the gear icon is how you want to manage your users. As I mentioned, depending on the subscription, you can add multiple ones, and here is where you would do it. Add the users. You also can have up to 2 accounting firms that you can invite your accountant to have access to your books without having to share your own password and username, and the accountant will have everything condensed. And now that we're here in the gear icon, I want to show you a very good tool, which is called the Audit Log, as we're talking about users. Because if you notice here, the system is kind of recognizing that I am Craig, but it's going to give you an audit of every single activity that happens in your QuickBooks and who performed it. So this is the reason why if you want to have multiple people having access, even when your accountant does something, it's going to show here in detail. Every single activity, this is why it's called the Audit Log, and it's an extremely good feature of QuickBooks Online. The rest is how you customize your forms. Here you can customize how your estimates, your invoices can look. So let's say if we're creating a new style, I normally give you a standard one that we can edit, but let's try to open up this one so you have an idea what are the type of customizations you can do. How you want the design to look. QuickBooks gives you multiple templates, but you can also try different colors, try different sizes of font, the content. What do you want to show in your forms? Do you want the email to show or not? Maybe you can hide the address. So all of this is customizable in your sales forms, and I guess this includes for invoices, estimates, sales receipts, and credit memos. So this is where you will make all these type of modifications. Do you want to include the line for the deposit? If you send an estimate, do you want to include the estimate summary? All this is customizable. And the beauty of the online version as well is that you can send this information via email. So you can tell QuickBooks, you know, in that email, when I'm giving the client the opportunity to either pay or just see the invoice, what details do I want to include? Do I want to attach the PDF? What is the general template? I can change the actual message that it shows in general instead of having to customize it. I can send reminders and coordinate that so I don't have to remember to remind my client to pay me. And you know, there is nothing worse than working so hard in your business and then forgetting to collect your money. So the more you can automate this, the more you can use these tools to collect, the better. And the beauty is that when you send it via email, you can tell if the client view it. If you call them and say, hey, you haven't paid me, oh no, I haven't seen it. No, yes, you saw it because I saw in QuickBooks that you saw it. So these are very good tools of using the online version. So I'm gonna exit without saving for purposes of this. But you see, once you create something, you can edit and keep working on that. See. All right, so the gear icon, the other access that you have through here is go directly to the chart of accounts, which I'm gonna walk you now. Then you have quick access to your products and services, create recurring transactions. You can look at your tags. You can do the reconciliation from here, the Audit Log, as I mentioned. These are the main tools that you might want to explore, either using the sample company or if you already have QuickBooks Online. The left navigation panel, and if you notice, it is organized based on the name. You will see what type of feature or activity you're gonna do. So it's always good to go by that. First of all, in the dashboard, QuickBooks Online will give you an overview of what's going on. It gives you shortcuts of activities that you can perform, that you can also do it through here, but as it says, it's a shortcut. It gives you the bank accounts that you have connected, and you can connect checking, savings, credit cards, PayPal. It gives you a lot of options. I will go deeper on that when I get to banking. And then it makes it very visual. So if you go to the business overview, you can see how many invoices have been paid, how the expenses look like. You can change the period of time. So again, the reason why we do this tracking is to get the information, and it's beautiful to have it colorful and visual. So the banking feature, as I mentioned, the ability of connecting directly to your bank, all the transactions that go through your bank will come here, because technically when you link an account, what happens is that QuickBooks Online is going to ask you, okay, which bank do you use? And then you will choose your bank and enter the username, the password that you actually use to connect to your bank account. It's going to have a couple of steps for security reasons, but once it's connected, that's that. Everything that goes through your bank is here, and then you can just classify directly from here, match the deposits to the invoices, and do all the activity without having to do data entry. So when you think of accounting and bookkeeping, it's not the old school way anymore. And this is what makes your life much easier as an entrepreneur. So depending on the account, let's say here I have the checking account, it tells me how many transactions I have pending to classify. And those 25 transactions are here for review, right? When QuickBooks identifies that there is some sort of record that looks similar, you say you already mark an invoice as paid and you actually received the deposit, QuickBooks will tell you, hey, there is one record found. If it's correct, you can match it. If not, you find other matches. And this is extremely important to avoid duplication of income and overstating your income. Because if you mark your invoice as paid, and then you come here and say, hey, I received this money, this is part of my sales, then you're putting the sales on both sides. So this is key when you are recording your sales. Once the transactions are categorized, they come here. So from here, there is not much, because again, this is a sample company, but let's say I am going to put a rental and the category of this. This is directly aligned with your chart of accounts, and I will show you more in detail about the chart of accounts, but let's say I have an account for equipment rental, and this one actually is an account of job expenses. And let's say that my customer was hardware. I'm not sure. I'm just trying to play with the options here. And this corresponds to a project. And so this rental that I'm doing is for this Kalapatapu project. So when I add it, then it kicked me out. Sorry about that. Let me go back to
Hey, everybody, I think Yasne got frozen for a minute, but she'll be back in 1 minute. It looks like the link was there she goes. There she's back. Hey, Yasne. It's okay. I kind of let him know you'd be logging back in.
perfect. Let me see if I can.
That's the beauty of Zoom and webinars, right? And it's
I
always something.
know. Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
All right. This is the beauty of technology. And I was very impressed that nothing had happened so far, but here I am back. And thank you for your patience. I wanted to get you back to the QuickBooks sample company.
Mhm.
And
Everybody was worried about you. They were asking when you're going to come back. They didn't want to hear from me. They want to hear from you.
thank you all. We all had to deal with this at some point during this time. All right, so here I am back, and what I was showing you really quickly is how a transaction after being categorized, it goes to the categorize tab. So at least you got to see how it functions, right? So this is the beauty of banking. Other features that banking has is that if you for some reason have to exclude any transaction because it's duplicated, you can do that as well. And it's gonna show under excluded transactions. Also, the automation of these activities, you can create rules and tell QuickBooks and actually do it from here. Every time I get a transaction, or you can say, you know what, I go to pies, cakes every morning. This is my, favorite breakfast. So in this case, it's a refund. So maybe that won't work. But I want to show you, let's use books like Bessie. That's a refund as well. I'm going to use an expense. So Hicks Hardware. The rules, the way it works when you create a rule is that you're gonna tell QuickBooks, every time I get a transaction that is coming out or coming in from this specific account or from any account in case I use with multiple accounts, and the description or the bank text or the amount, depending on what feature category you wanna apply. Let's say if the description contains Hicks hardware, I want QuickBooks to classify this automatically as an expense. The expense category is going to be job supplies. And I want QuickBooks to automatically add it to my books. This is a time saver because as you know in business, a lot of these transactions are recurring transactions. So you can do it with income, with expenses. There are many ways to play with these rules. All right, so this is banking. The other options is that you can attach receipts. You can take pictures of your receipts with the app. You can upload it here. You can set up an email and forward all the receipts to that email and they will automatically come here. You don't need to have your shoebox anymore. Yes, save it just in case, but if the IRS comes anyways, they might be grayed out. So you can keep the digital version and forget about the mountain of shoeboxes that you might have somewhere. So these are the main features with banking. I want to take a few minutes to dig a little deeper on the chart of accounts because this is the skeleton of your accounting system. And it's actually the very first thing that you want to set up when you are implementing or kind of improving your QuickBooks, whether you use online or desktop. So the chart of accounts, if you notice in this case, it has the column of name, and if you click on top of it, you can sort alphabetically. So it's going to organize it by name or description. And then what happened? Can you still hear me?
Yeah, we can
Yes,
hear
we can
you.
hear you.
Okay, I got worried. I got worried because it kicked me out from the sample company, but here I am. All right. Let me go back again. And this, all right. So the chart of accounts is going to ask you, first of all, what type of account is it? And we have the opportunity to tell, okay, this is a bank account, this is an income, expense category, equity. So when we're creating a new account, I'm gonna take you here in a second. Here, we see when we're creating a new one, we use this new button at the top, and then we have to choose what type of account is it. Let's say I'm gonna create an account for cost of goods sold. And then what type of cost of goods sold? Is it labor? Is it supplies and material? Let's choose equipment rental. And the beauty is that you can actually change the name. So you can adjust it of what applies to your business, right? And you can make it a sub account. So let's say I'm gonna put equipment rental as it was. Equipment rental. And then I'm gonna say that this is gonna be a sub account of my main account, cost of goods sold. So it's going to organize it. And the beauty of creating sub accounts is that the way it looks here is how it's going to look in your profit and loss in this case. So now if you look at cost of goods, the idea is that it had equipment rental here, maybe it didn't save it. So let's create a new one that's very common. We all have cars. We might not use it as often nowadays, but under car expenses, it's very typical, and I recommend to my clients to create subcategories so you can keep track of your expenses for gas, tolls, parking, and you know exactly where the money is going, right? So here it has an account for automobile, it has a fuel expense account, in this case for the gas. We can create sub accounts for all these expenses that I just mentioned. So again, it's just how you're tabulating the income and the expenses. And then of course it's gonna have your equity accounts, the banks that are connected, and you can modify this as much as you want. And the idea is to make it as easy for you to understand and as detailed as you want it to be. It's really up to you, but the goal is so you know where the money is going. You know, I don't want to have everything under uncategorized asset. You know, if I have information under uncategorized and the amount is significant, I have to categorize that. Or let's say a loan. A lot of us got different programs, different loans. I want to know specifically what loan does this belong to. So I'm going to have a sub account if I got an EIDL loan. I'm going to have a sub account if I still have my PPP loan outstanding, and then clear it up when I get the forgiveness. So all of this is modifiable, and this is where you would build this foundation of your accounting system. And here under accounting, you also do the reconciliation, which that might be another intermediate class. All right, so I want to take the next couple of minutes just to walk you through the rest of the features here in the left navigation panel. So I left enough time to answer some of your questions. We went over banking. In sales is where you have everything as it relates to sales, right? When you have all sales, it's gonna show you all the transactions, whether you classify them through banking or if you enter the sale manually because it was a cash sale, you can do a sales receipt and make sure those cash payments are being tracked of. This is where you will create your invoices, your estimates, any activity that has to do with your sales, where you will keep track of your customers and your products and services. And you would think, well, if I have a chart of account, how does this connect with my products and services? It's extremely important because when you create an invoice or a sales receipt, in the sales form, what's going to show And let me show you really quickly so you see how it all plays out. Let's say I create an invoice, right? And I'm gonna put my customer. If it's not already in the list, I can add it from here. I'm gonna put all this information, right? But every sales form is gonna ask me, what product or service are you offering? And then in this case, we already have a list because it's a sample company, but you have to build your own list. What is the product or the service that you are providing to your clients, right? You will choose that. If it has a description already, great, you can change the rate, you can change all the messages that we spoke, you can have predetermined, but you can always change it, include sales tags. This is everything we set up in the sales form earlier, right? But where this product and service comes from, how do I build this list? So I'm gonna close this without saving to show you that here in products and services, this is the list that's going to reflect in your sales forms. And when you create a product or a service, you have to choose what type is it. Inventory, do I want to keep track of the amounts? Is it a product, but I'm not keeping track of inventory? Or is it a service or even a bundle? You can create a bundle of a combination of any of those. But something I want to leave you with, and this is extremely important, and this is why I said everything somehow is connected to your charts of accounts. Here I'm creating a service. It's gonna ask me for the name. I can create categories and organize it like that as well. And extremely important, I could leave the sales price blank if I'm gonna change the price every time depending on the client, but I have to choose what income account it belongs to. And if I created a sub account, let's say I'm gonna put here landscaping services. This is a landscaping company. And instead of this general service account, I had created a sub account for landscaping. That's what I'm gonna choose. Because when you get that payment, when you collect your money, at the end of the day, it's going to reflect in that specific income account. So this is extremely important. Again, it's all connected. This is the list of the chart of accounts we just went over. Expenses, same thing, is just when it comes to the other side. When majority of the transactions, the reality of having a business, the majority of the transactions are going to be expenses. So here you can enter the expense manually if it was cash, the purchase orders if you're ordering in advance, and then all the transactions that you had classified from banking that were expenses are going to be reflected here. And you can have your list of vendors. When you're creating, whether it's a customer or a vendor, you can add it from here. And you can put all type of details. It looks very similar depending on the information. The window might change a little bit for the customer or the vendor. And here you can keep track of 1099 payments if at this vendor at the end of the year, you're providing a 1099. I'm gonna show you really quickly here under sales when you create customers. So you can see how the interface is very similar. And always the action button tends to be at the top in green, so you get related with how it looks like. Very quickly, the projects, I'm gonna just fly over these because it's an extremely important tool, but we won't have time to go in detail today. So depending on your industry, you wanna keep track of your income and your expenses per project. So that way, you know, am I making money on this too? And this is, imagine you own a construction business and you have multiple projects going on at the same time, all these transactions going through your bank. How do you know if each individual project is making you money? So I'm gonna put here test. You can choose the customer. So let's say I'm doing a project for Diego, and you can put notes here, details about this project, right? And then save. Once you create a project, inside of the project, you can take all these actions that I've shown you so far. To the project, you can add an invoice, you can receive a payment, you can do the estimates from here, and it's going to keep track of these activities by project. And this is when I was showing you back in banking, Then in the transaction, you can choose, does this belong to a project? And if you do that, the activities are going to be reflected here. When you have this per project, you can see exactly how much income, what is the cost. You can run project reports and really take a closer look at the profitability of your specific projects. So again, this could be an amazing tool for some of the businesses depending on what you have. Payroll is also an option with QuickBooks Online and even with desktop as well. You have to pay an additional fee if you want to do payroll within QuickBooks. But depending on your business, it might be worth it, because when you do that, even the simplest subscription of payroll, which right now is like $45 plus a small fee per employee, you do the setup. We can support you with the setup, but all you have to do then is run payroll. And QuickBooks is going to take care of paying the taxes, sending the forms to the IRS, the 940, the 941, the unemployment taxes, everything they take care of for you. So this is an amazing tool as well that you could use. Something that is not showing here in the sample company because it came up very recently is a tool that's for cash flow. And it gives you the opportunity to do the projections and work with the cash flow. It gives you the graphs, it gives you ways to work with your budgeting as it comes to cash flow. For all the QuickBooks subscription have it available, but it's not reflected here in the sample company just yet. But it's a very good tool you can explore as well. And last but not least, here is taxes, your sales taxes, your payroll taxes. You can keep track of your mileage. This is where you will check the chart of accounts. You can communicate with the accountant from here. You can connect apps, as I mentioned, depending on the tool. It's very common to connect apps for e-commerce. For example, if you sell products through a website and you want to make sure everything is synced. So when you sell a product over there, you don't have to do any manual updating QuickBooks. You can connect apps, and there are all type of apps that you can choose for your QuickBooks Online. And the reporting. This, as I mentioned, is the reason why we do all this work. There are all type of reports that you can run. The most common ones, profit and loss and balance sheet. But this is just the tip of the iceberg, because you can get reports by details, profit and loss by customer, by month, by tag group. You can know, okay, I have these vendors, who has paid me, who owes me, give me a whole list. Statement of cash flows. So it classifies it based on the category. So who owes you? I want to see all the open invoices I have. I want to see of my charges that I'm planning to bill, but I haven't billed yet. I want to see all the list of my invoices. This is gold, because again, we want to keep track of this information to make business decisions based on numbers. You can customize the reports. It gives you specific management reports. So you see, it goes on. And the amount of reports that you can get, it also depends on the subscription. And now I'm right on time. And in the last 15 minutes, I will be taking questions. And again, the intention is, if it's something quick, I'll show you right here.
Okay, thanks, Yasnaya.
Thank you.
So let's see, we have a question from Jamie, who said, I don't have a business, but I want to use it for personal accounting. Is there a personal version?
A personal version. The beauty of QuickBooks Online is that they try to do the setup already with the type of expenses that you have for business purposes. They even have the self-employed, that is a simpler one, but it does give you the list based on business purposes. If you want to keep track of your personal finances, there is another app also by Intuit that's called Mint. And that might be a good tool to use. Like QuickBooks will try to give you the names and the customization for business expenses.
That's good. So we answered that one. We had the question from Teresa that asked, she has QuickBooks Premier desktop version. Will she have the same options as the online version? Can you please review the JE or input when starting a company? Example, cash owner's equity.
Yes, you could review that information. You could make updates, but the features are going to be a little different. And depending on what you're looking for, you might want to compare whether the online might work for you or desktop is a good alternative. But for what you're looking for, that adjustment in the owner's equity, it can be done in the desktop, no problem.
Yeah, I see the poll popped up, so everybody please take a minute to fill out the poll. And then we also had the question about Yasena asking, would you be able to share more about the payroll module and what it includes?
Well, the payroll is a whole nother training, to be honest, but what it includes, maybe I could take you really quickly to the QuickBooks website.
And then an anonymous attendee, while you're pulling it up, they also said they only have themselves as an employee for the business. So do you recommend the payroll module?
It depends on the type of business that you have for tax purposes. If you file a Schedule C, whether you have an LLC, one member, or you are acting as a sole proprietor, it's not required to do the payroll because you will pay your self-employment taxes based on the net income of the Schedule C. But if you have a corporation, even if you have an S corporation, then payroll is a function that you might want to take a look at because you're supposed to pay yourself a salary, even if you are the only one in the corporation. And then to get back to the prior question, let's say when you go to QuickBooks and you choose your subscription, then it gives you the option to add on payroll. So let me see, because they take it like one step. And it might or might not, let me see, products. What I know based on the information and the setup that I've done with clients when it comes to payroll is that even the core, and here it shows the information, okay, payroll. The core is the very basic one, but the core does everything you need because they take care of everything for you, the payments, the forms, and whatnot. So this is some more information about the pricing. When you click on learn more, then it opens up here, you know, the perks and how it runs. But to be honest, digging deeper into payroll is another session, and I could walk you on the setup and the features and how to run payroll, how to use it. But here you can find at least what it includes when you go to the website.
She can send Jesus a note. Jesus, you can put your email address in the chat and we can get her some more information on that. And then David, who had asked the question about the non-business, he said he's a nonprofit. He's a nonprofit company. So
yes, QuickBooks has, and even the QuickBooks Online has an option to set it up for nonprofits. You will need to activate that when you are implementing QuickBooks. And the main difference is going to be the type of accounts that you will use in your chart of accounts, and then the terminology when you're collecting money instead of, you know, sales or revenue. It has different terms aligned with the nonprofit industry. But yes, there is a way to use QuickBooks for nonprofit.
And then I see Ricardo Newark. Hey, Ricardo. He had a question for you. What's the process to charge cost of sales out of inventory use rather than charging all purchases directly?
That's a very good question. And really quickly, when you create a product and you are creating a new inventory product, in this case, It's going to ask you not only for the name, the category, here you can put the quantity on hand, but it's gonna ask you what is the inventory account that it belongs to. You can use the generic or create an account specifically for that type of inventory. It's gonna ask you for what income account when you receive the money, but it's also going to ask you for the expense account, in this case, the cost of goods. So in this scenario, when you sell the product, then all these components are aligned. It's going to reduce your inventory based on how this product is tied to the inventory account. It's going to increase your income based on how it's tied to your income account. And it's going to increase your cost of goods sold, and you're putting the specific cost here. So if you're selling a pair of shoes that's costing, that you're selling at 100, but you put here that it costs you 50, not until you sell it, it's gonna show you cost of goods. And the rest, while you have it in inventory, then that value is gonna be in your inventory asset.
Cool, thanks. Thanks, Ricardo. And then David, who had asked the question about nonprofits, he said, how do you correct what was downloaded from the bank to what you have in your system?
Meaning that maybe the information downloaded is not what you need. What is it that we're trying to correct?
Yeah, I guess maybe when you were setting up the bank account information.
Okay.
It sounds a little more complicated, so you might give them
Something typical that happens when we connect to the bank is we want to make sure that we're choosing the right period that we want to start using QuickBooks. Let's say if I want to start using QuickBooks as of January 2021, but I forgot to put that when I was syncing the account, and then I have all transactions for 2020, I can exclude them, right? So I can mark them, I can exclude them, and that will be the case. Another typical scenario that we have to somehow tweak with the journal entries, that if we didn't create the account in advance, sometimes when you sync it to the bank, the beginning balance is not going to be correct, the opening balance. So that might impact your bank reconciliations. But yeah, that as Brian mentioned, might be a little bit more specific, and I need to understand exactly what you're trying to correct.
Yeah, well, David said that was good. He said it was that was what he's looking for.
Thank you.
And then we had a question on, can you use QuickBooks to replace your accounting and payroll agency?
That's a decision you have to make because yes, everything is replaceable nowadays with the right technology. And if you find yourself learning QuickBooks and being able to do it yourself, yes, it is. Your accountant is replaceable, your payroll agency is replaceable using these tools here. It's just a matter of what direction you want to take with that, and whether you feel confident doing it yourself or doing it with the support of a business consultant from SBDC.
If you turn out to be a pro, if you get really good at advice and consulting, then you're basically an expert at it, then you can kind of fly on your own.
Yes.
And then Jarvis had a question. Can you explain again how to practice with the sample QuickBooks?
Yes, pretty much. And I'm going to put this link, let me see, in the chat so you will have it available. But it is this link. Sometimes when you Google it, it takes you to the wrong place. So let me put it in the chat for you all. Okay, type answer. This might not be the answer. No. Okay, I might not know how to play with this chat on the webinar. But pretty much when you click on the link, which is going to be available in the PowerPoint, we're going to put it in the YouTube channel, it takes you to the page, right? And all you have to do is tell that you're not a robot. And when you click continue, it automatically give you access to the sample company. Any changes that you make while you're playing with it is gonna be reflected, so you see how one thing influences the other. But once you close it, everything is gonna be gone. But this is how you would access it. I don't know if somebody can help me put in the link in the chat.
So I guess it'll be into the thing. If you wanted to pull back up the slide, I can put it in the chat for you.
Okay, great. As you can tell, I am not as technology savvy.
It's okay. And then I'll ask the next question, and while you're answering, I can put it in. Teresa asked that she owns a residential construction company. Have you had any feedback from similar businesses that may have said which version worked best for them, desktop or online?
Residential construction company, it depends. And to be honest, the way I look at desktop or online, I actually had an interesting conversation about this yesterday. More than the features are very similar. I find that people in construction are going, it depends, but I've seen a lot of clients going for the QuickBooks Online, the plus version, so it gives you the option of the project profitability. But the difference, honestly, it's a matter of, I would say, generational taste. And we use this metaphor. Younger people tend to be more open to the QuickBooks Online, like we're more open to just Starbucks, right? And some people from different generations say, I prefer my coffee espresso and straight shot. So it's a preference. I think even the desktop version have made a lot of upgrades. But answering your question, I've seen it in both. In the online, though, I do see the opportunity to use project profitability that is very useful for that type of business.
Denise Foster had a question that she sells reading glasses wholesale, and on her invoice, she needs to put a total quantity at the bottom of the invoice. Currently, she has to manually total the quantity of glasses, which is very time consuming. Is there a way to get a total quantity automatically on the invoice? She has QuickBooks Online.
I haven't tested. We can take a look. I would say check, and I might need to get back to you specifically, but check the custom font styles to see if you could modify that quantity column so it reflects that. And also check in the account settings under sales if there is an option to turn that on and off. Honestly, I haven't tested just yet, but if it's possible, you're gonna find the opportunity to make the adjustment.
Yeah, and Denise, you might want to email Jesus or Brianna, because I see you also had a separate question related to like a report on how much you're selling per month. So follow up with them, because it seems like it would be a little deeper dive, but we'd be happy to help you on that. And let's see. Then Teresa had a question that she has an S Corp and she launched a real estate investment business. Should property acquired to be resold be treated as inventory, and related purchase cost and renovation expense as cost of goods sold? Any recommendations?
Okay. I might need to get a better understanding of the background story to answer that question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Just she can follow up with Jesus, because it is a little bit.
Yeah.
We also want to get to the other questions.
Thank you for your question, but yeah, there is some background story there that I need to understand.
And then David had another question, or two questions. Number one, he said he likes the online version because of the security and virus concerns. And then second, he asked if you can have more than one company on one account.
Unfortunately, no. Yes, I agree with you on the security. Intuit uses the type of security that a financial institution will use, but each subscription is limited to one company. And you could try to play with it, kind of creating sub accounts with different names, but it gets a little crazy when you're trying to send invoices and estimates, because only one name is going to show here, you know?
Mhm. And then an anonymous attendee said, can you switch from online to desktop and vice versa?
Yes, you can. Either way, you can.
Okay. And then this looks like the last question that you've gone through about 25 questions so far. Do you have an opinion or provide information about free accounting software like Wave, ZipBooks, CloudBooks, Zoho Invoice?
There are a lot of options out there. I would say if you're looking for a free option, it's always good to test it. I've, I've worked with some of them and they do the work. It really depends on the features that you're looking for and whether they have them in the free version. But honestly, the goal is to organize your numbers. I'm using this presentation with QuickBooks, but we're not endorsing QuickBooks. So if there are options, then yes, I encourage you to check and to see if it works for you.
Yeah. And I just want to say again, thank you to Yasne for this presentation. I think we had almost 100 attendees. So it's really good that everybody's trying to get smarter on financial management. As we always say from SBDC, we love when businesses embrace their numbers, because that's going to help you to not only to get a handle on your day-to-day operations, but also in terms of growing your business, because you can't grow the business if you don't understand where you're at and where you can go. And so if you guys have any questions that we didn't answer, I know that there were some very detailed questions, please email Jesus or Brianna, because they can follow up with you. You will be getting a copy of the presentation. We will have a recorded version of this webinar on our YouTube page for FIU Entrepreneurship.
No, I forgot to share the resources, but they're going to be on the slides. Sorry, Brian.
That's okay.
Yeah, they're going to be on the slides, 2 links. One is going to take you to your public library page through LinkedIn Learning, and they have a free QuickBooks Online course, very complete. The other link is going to take you to a tutorial, very complete tutorial, as you're trying to learn these tools. Those 2 things I forgot, but they're going to be in the slides.
Yeah, and then Brenda just said an awesome presentation, so she gave you a thumbs up.
Thank you.
But just thanks to everybody for participating. Thanks to Yasne, this was a great presentation. We might have to do a part 2 since we had such a great response. And then just everybody have a good rest of the day and a good week. Take care.
Thank you.